Yo, good evening, USA, International, Canada, Long Island, aka Strong Island, the tri state areas of New Jersey, Connecticut, plus the five spots of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. This is your man and homie G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator, rhymes with now or later, like the candy. Your host with the most, misunderstood lonely nomad, unstoppable independent podcaster, creator, YouTuber, Queens, New York native who's also a New York Giants fan, a New York Knicks fan, aka Knicks at five, and uh, and I am also a New York Mets fan from the neck of the woods of Laurelton, Queens, New York. And you are now rocking with me by listening, tuning in, and watching the 129th episode of the Sports Edition show, Excellent, Fun, Vibrant Talks podcast. And man, oh man, I got some sports topics to talk about today in this episode, man. And what a good time to be a New York Mets fan because as I was watching the game earlier, and it looks like the Mets were taking 2 out of 3 from the Pirates. All right, never in a million years that I ever seen a Met player go 5 for 5 until Bo Bichette pulled it off. Man, that's something to actually smile about, though, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm actually glad they took 2 out of 3, and I'm actually glad they swept the Cleveland Guardians. I'm actually glad they did that actually. So that's pretty cool. So yeah. So now they're like 52 and 67 so far. Um, I may do some highlights of those games in one of the following episodes and stuff. I might not have time to do it in this episode right here because one of the topics I'm going to talk about first is the Tony Romo situation that we got to get into, and then there's and then there's some other stuff that I need to get into. So yes, live and direct from StreamYard alongside with YouTube and the comfort of my room where I do my podcast recordings. Um, and the best way for you to actually support me is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Sports Channel page. Leave a like and a comment. You can even hype up the video. You can share the video. You can even share the links and all that other stuff with your friends that's into sports. All right. Um, and also, you can click on the notification alerts so you'll know when I'll be on the air via live stream with more topics and more new episodes. All right. So let me cut to the chase and go on to the quick side bleacher bar. Let's do it. They're 5-1. They're 5-1 on the road actually. So far they won 5 games, despite the fact that they lost yesterday's game to the Pirates. They managed to take 2 out of 3 from the Pirates, and then the next game they go to Atlanta. They go to Atlanta actually, and then Friday and the weekend coming up, they are at City Field playing against the Nationals. Um, so yeah, there you go right there. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is the whole Tony Romo situation. This is not looking good for this guy, according to Sports Yahoo. According to, yeah, it's crazy. So, here's the situation for those of you who may not know. Tony Romo argued with a female cop about making a call to his lawyer during his arrest in Wisconsin last week. New video from the scene obtained by the California Post shows Romo was pulled over on a Milwaukee interstate just after 6 p.m. on July 23rd, and in the newly released body camera footage, the ex NFL quarterback appeared surprised to have been stopped. He explained to the officer he was coming from a golf course and was on his way to see grandma and grandpa. When asked, Romo said he had consumed zero drinks. The officer then instructed him to step out of the car for field sobriety testing, and that's when Romo stated he was going to call his attorney. Again, however, the officer asked him to step out of the car, but Romo insisted he needed to call his lawyer and started to record the encounter on his iPhone. After a back and forth, Romo got Romo got out of the vehicle and asked bluntly, "Because I'm coming from a golf course, you think I'm drunk?" Romo told cops the drive from the highway to the police station aggravated his back, obtained by the California Post. No, CA Post, whatever that. Yeah, California Post. The officer then informed him he was being detained for a possible OWI and wanted to take him to a safer location to perform field sobriety testing. She threw handcuffs on him and then put him in the back of a squad car. That is not looking good for this guy, man. Okay. All right. So they then drove to a nearby police station, and while there, the officer explained she thought he might have been impaired due to his red, glassy eyes and the odor of an intoxicating alcoholic beverage emanating from his person. She also noted they found unopened alcohol shooters in his bag. Oh damn. Stupid. She put Romo through a few tests, but the former NFL star had to stretch out multiple times after he said the drive over aggravated some of his previous back injuries. Romo was asked to follow a pen with his eyes, walk in a straight line, and stand on one leg, and he did seem to perform poorly on all the tests. At the conclusion of the testing, the cop asked Romo if he'd submit to a breath test. Oh no, he responded. We're not doing that. I've heard from all the lawyers, don't ever do that, so we're not going to do that. Roman was then placed under arrest and booked on one count of operating while intoxicated. First offense. Um, Milwaukee, Milwaukee County, um, court records viewed by the Post earlier this week showed Romo was tagged with a citation for refusing to take a test take a test for intoxication after arrest over his encounter with the police. The case was deemed a traffic violation and not a criminal charge because of the allegations against Romo. A spokesperson for the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office told the Post on Monday. Romo, who has still not yet publicly addressed the incident, has been given a court date of September 21st. Oh, damn. Romo played for the Dallas Cowboys from 2004 to 2016, and following the end of his NFL career, he joined the CBS booth to broadcast games. In 2020, he signed a 10-year pact with the network that was worth $180 million. CBS has no intentions of firing Romo over his arrest, the Daily Mail reported on Tuesday. However, the outlet added he does intend to step back a little from the spotlight in wake of the embarrassing situation. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Let me get to some. All right, some New York Giants news. Let's get to that right there, man. So this is from the folks from Heavy. Um, so this is pertaining to what you call it. This is pertaining to Cam Scatterboo. He's in direct competition with Tyrone Tracy Jr. to be the lead workhorse for the New York Giants, but that hasn't stopped Cam Scatterboo from making a bold prediction about his fellow running back. It's a prediction that shows how Tracy is responding to Scatterboo's growing influence in the backfield. Scatterboo spoke with reporters at training camp on Friday, July 31st, and revealed, "We're going to be physical. We're going to run hard. Me and Trace have had a lot of talks. You know, in the past 8 months of me being injured and coming back. Um, and I think, yeah, I think you are going to see a little meaner side of him this year too. So I'm super excited to get the ball on the ground and see the physicality come out the of all the guys. This is an interesting observation about a back who is the stylistic opposite to Scatterboo, while the latter is all straight ahead, brute force. Tracy is a slashing and thoughtful speedster. Tracy's desire to play with a little more nasty in his game shows Scatterboo's intensity is contagious. That intensity can prompt some foot that intensity can prompt foolhardy decisions by Scatterboo off the field. But he revealed head coach John Harbaugh has intervened to set boundaries. Harbaugh won't want any restraints in the competition for carries. Two backs going at full tilt to outdo each other can only be good for a Giants offense set to be defined by its ground attack. Tyrone Tracy Jr. responding the right way to Cam Scatterboo threat. Tracy needs to take action to stay relevant in a running game many believe will be led by Scatterboo. This offseason has been defined by predictions Scatterboo will shatter statistical barriers and benefit the most from Harbaugh hiring veteran consultant Greg Roman to design a more power-based run game. Each of those predictions have been validated by Scatterboo being first up during live drills at training camp the first 3 days, despite splitting first-team reps with last year's leading rusher Tyrone Tracy Jr., according to ESPN's Jordan Raanan. Scatterboo being first choice gives him a head start on impressing coaches in the in the new system. It's why Tracy needs a little something extra to help make each of his rushes stand out. Running with more aggression is a great place to start, especially after Tracy only broke a tackle every 35.2 rushing attempts in 2025 per Pro Football Reference. There's obviously room for a 5'11", 210-pounder to get tougher shedding tackles. Tracy can achieve that by showing greater determination to punish would-be tacklers. Laying his own hits on defenders will help the former fifth-round pick match the smash mouth style that makes Scatterboo so popular. That same style is what Harbaugh and Roman want from a running game beefed up by bigger blockers like 300-pound ex-Baltimore Ravens fullback, six-time Pro Bowler Patrick Ricard, along with 2026 NFL Draft first-round pick guard Francis Sissi Maui Goa. Tougher running inside will help Tracy, but it isn't the only way he can separate himself from Scatterboo. A little side note, I did see a video of Cam Scatterboo actually doing like a backflip. So it, there's nothing alarming about what he did. It's who he is. It's who he is as a personality. You know what I mean? That's just the way he expressed himself. So it's nothing alarming. He is already recovering from a previous injury, so nothing to be alarmed about. Um, let me let me break down what OWI stands for before I move on here. So OWI stands for operating while intoxicated, a legal term for operating a vehicle while impaired by alcohol or drugs. In Tony Romo's case, oh man, Tony Romo's case. So OWI is a criminal charge used in several U.S. states, including Wisconsin, Michigan, and Iowa, to describe the act of operating a vehicle while intoxicated or impaired by alcohol, drugs, or other substances. The term operating is broader than driving, meaning a person can be charged even if the vehicle is not moving, such as sitting in the driver's seat with the engine running or having control of the vehicle in other ways. And of course, there's other acronyms you should know about. Of course, driving under the influence, that's DUI. Most states use this term focusing on driving while impaired. DUI and OWI refer to the same offense, but the terminology varies by state. Driving while intoxicated, another term used in some states, often interchangeable with DUI. Operating a vehicle impaired, used specifically in Ohio, similar to OWI. The main distinction lies in the wording. Operating can include broader circumstances than driving, but the legal consequences, blood alcohol concentration, limits, and penalties are generally similar across these terms. And legal implications, an OWI charge can result from either per se intoxication, um, yeah, blood alcohol concentration of 0.08% or higher for drivers 21 and over. Actual impairment, observer, observer, uh, excuse me, observer, observable signs of impairment such as slurred speech, failed field sobriety tests, or erratic behavior. Penalties for OWI convictions are comparable to DU to DU to DUI or DWI offenses and may include fines, license suspension, mandatory education programs, and possible jail time. All right, so there you go. So the key takeaway for OWI is simply the state-specific term for operating a vehicle while impaired. And while the terminology differs from DUI or DWI, the offense and its consequences are essentially the same across the United States. So there you go. There you go, man. So there you go. All right. All right, so let's continue where I left off here. Okay. Niche skill can decide pecking order for Giants' backfield. Being a converted wide receiver gives Tracy an edge over Scatterbull when it comes to a niche skill set to be a bigger part of this season's offense. The key change in excuse me, the key change is inspired by new coordinator Matt Nagy. Getting Tracy more involved in the passing games makes sense on a number of levels, primarily because he's a dynamic and versatile athlete who has topped 1,000 all purpose yards every year since entering the pros in 2024. Hang on. She knows how to open and possesses the alignment flexibility to create matchup advantage, advantages, like the one he exploited against aging middle linebacker Bobby Wagner to haul in a touchdown catch from Jackson Dart against the Washington Commanders last season. Connecting with a consistent and prolific backfield receiver is one of the new wrinkles designed to make second year quarterback Dart more efficient. It means Tracy could end up having greater three down value than Scatterboo. The latter is no slouch as a receiver, having snagged 24 receptions and a couple of touchdowns as a rookie. Yet Scatterboo's game will ultimately always be defined by how he batters defenses between the tackles. If Tracy can learn to do the same, it will be tough for Nagy to take him off the field, and Scatterboo might become a situational short yardage back. It's one of the many fascinating scenarios for the most intriguing position battles for the Giants. Okay. Okay, so is there anything else? Anything else I need to talk about for the Giants? Let's see. Yes. In other Giants news, let's talk. Let's talk about in other New York Giants news. Let's get into this right here. If you followed the, if you followed the sports, if you followed the reports about the New York Giants' offensive struggles throughout these first few days of training camp in offensive coordinator Matt Nagy's new system, it's tempting to overreact. Do yourself a favor and keep calm. This time of year, when teams are going through the CBA mandated acclimation period, the defense is always going to look like it's in mid-season form because there's no live contact and the players aren't in pads. By the way, in case you're wondering, the New York Giants are in West Virginia in training camp that's going on right now. All right, so this means that pass rushers can feast on defenseless offensive linemen and make life hard for the quarterback. This is according to Sports Illustrated. It also means that the defensive backs playing press man coverage can't put their hands on receivers to interrupt the timing of the receivers' releases. In other words, it's normal for the offense to struggle, and when one adds in that the Giants are learning a completely new offensive system that not only has new language, but also requires quarterback Jackson Dart to work more under center than he did last year or at Ole Miss. It's not surprising that the offense looks disjointed. The offense hasn't been that bad. Head coach John Harbaugh has actually been more encouraged with what he's seen from the offense than one might think. Following Saturday's practice, he was asked what he's seen improve, and he pointed to the offense. In quote, "We're pushing the envelope on all the cadences," he said. "It's not like we're protecting them and doing simple cadences. There's a lot of tough cadences, and for the most part, we did a really good job with it. By pushing the envelope, Harbaugh and his staff are learning what Dart can do and can't do, so they can adjust accordingly when the games start to count for real. In the interim, there is sure to be some more missed opportunities in practice. However, on the flip side, any sloppiness related to penalties and drop passes will hopefully start to dissipate. Dissipate, excuse me. Um, but as far as spending any energy worrying about the offense, one might be better served focusing on the bright spots, the return of receiver Malik Neighbors, the promise shown by tight end Isaiah Likely, and the running game, and how those elements plus the return of the pads will help alleviate some of the concerns that currently exist. Okay. Um. Anything else? Someone. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Let's take a look at one more, and then I'll go on to the next one. Here's what we've learned at every position so far during Giants training camp 2026. From Jackson Dart's growing comfort under center to a wide open cornerback competition, here's what stood out as Big Blue wrapped up camp at the Greenbrier. Time sure does fly when one is having fun. Okay, so maybe the rigorous nature of summer training camp isn't all fun and games, but for the New York Giants, their time spent at the Greenbrier was, according to head coach John Harbaugh, productive. A quote, I think we got a lot better. That's probably what we got out of it, he said after the last practice wrapped up on Saturday. We improved tremendously. We're much further along than we were when we started. I think we can look back and say that we've come a long way. The next step for the Giants, following a day off on Sunday, we know will be to shift into preseason mode. Preseason mode with preparations on tap for their first of 3 preseason games set for 1 week from now. Yes, football is back. While the preparations themselves won't be as extensive as they will be for regular season contests. For Harbaugh, the focus remains on getting better. End quote. I mean, the competition is really tough in this league, and every team is doing the same thing. So you are in a race every single day to be at least the best you can be, he said. I thought our guys did a good job. I'm happy with where we're at. It's just a matter of keeping your head down and staying after it every day. Never taking a breath in terms of your mindset and determination to get better. With the hard part of camp in the books, here's a look at what we can glean. Hold on. Here's a look at what can be gleaned about the team at every position group. Starting with Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart's comfort level under center. The biggest question going into camp was how much better starter Jackson Dart would look than in the spring, where he continued to be hesitant at times while working under center. Dart's struggles continued into the start of training camp. Still, they gradually lessened with the penult the penultimate practice being his best as he went 16 of 19. Dart and his teammates then convinced Harbaugh to give them an extra play to finish the drive, and the quarterback connected with receiver Darius Slayton for a touchdown pass. Now it's up to Dart to continue growing into his comfort level, especially with the games upcoming where he'll no longer have the protection of the red jersey as he does now in practice. Running backs, heavier reliance on the ground game. History suggested that a Harbaugh-led team was going to be one that leaned heavily into the running game, and that appears to be the direction the team is heading this year. Last year, the Giants' rushing game finished 5th overall, but that was with the yardage contributed by the quarterbacks, which helped to inflate the ranking. Per data compiled from PWF, the Giants ranked seventh in average rushing yards before contact, which is 1.68, but 28th in average rushing yards after contact, 2.61. That latter number is obviously one they are looking to improve. Tight ends, a bigger role for Isaiah Likely. As anticipated, Dart has begun building a chemistry with free agent acquisition Isaiah Likely, who figures to be a big part of the passing offense this year after mainly living in Mark Andrews' shadow when the two were with the Ravens. Likely, who has a career reception rate of 69.6%, has already proven to be a mismatch problem for defenses given his size and physicality. And quote, I come out every day telling myself when you are 1 and 11th every play, and whether it has run or pass matchups, whether it's zone or man, like you said. And I feel like if I win my 1 and 11th, whether it's I it it's whether it's I go to go it's whether I got to go against safety, linebacker, the end corner, just giving Jax the best possibility to throw the ball, or running back to be able to run in space. Receivers, sorting out the depth chart. The biggest headline of camp was Malik Nabers, who continues his comeback from the devastating torn ACL he suffered in Week 4 last year. Nabers not only avoided the PUP list, but he's been on a steady path in which his reps have increased, leading to hope that it won't be too much longer before he's ready to start participating in team drills again. Beyond that, the other big question that seems to be gaining clarity is which of the dozen plus receivers the Giants will carry. Neighbors Darius Slayton, Odell Beckham Jr., and Malachi Fields are well on their way to being locks. Dalen Cambray also appears to be on his way to being a lock, as does Calvin Austin III. That means at most there is one more open spots for one of Braxton Berrios, Isaiah Hodgins, Jalen Hyatt, Darnell Mooney, Juju Smith-Schuster, Xavier Gibson, and Ryan Miller to grab if they can show solid play in the preseason. Offensive line keeping the status quo for the personnel. Entering camp, there was some question as to whether the Giants might have any open competitions, specifically at left guard. That apparently wasn't in the plans, as offensive line coach Mike Bloomgren has been more focused on working with what he has, including first-round pick Francis Mauigoa, and getting them up to speed on the footwork and technique that aligns with gap blocking, while also mixing in some stretch zone runs. One interesting idea that appears to have died on the vine dating back to the spring is the notion of Evan Neal potentially challenging for a spot on the interior. Neal has continued to work at guard, but his opportunities to work with the starters and the second team have not been as plentiful as some might have thought. The Giants, remember, gave Neal a low-risk contract that they can get out of with zero dead money. Unless Neil balls out in the preseason games, it appears that the experiment to bring Neil back will not have been a successful one. Defensive line revamping the starting unit. Back in the spring, it was thought by some that second year man Darius Alexander was getting first team reps during those practices open to the media because the other veterans signed by the team were missing. That hasn't been the case. Excuse me for a sec. All right. Yeah, that hasn't been the case. Alexander, the team's third round pick last year, has continued to make a case for a starting job alongside protecting nose tackle DJ Reader. He's a guy who's got a really good chance to be special. Reader of Alexander. You don't see too many D tackles that big. Still amazed that he went to Toledo. I don't know what people are doing in recruiting. He can play. Alexander proved he could play in the closing weeks of last season. So it is no surprise that he's gotten an opportunity to pick up where he left off. And the good news, according to Reader, is that Alexander has done just that. He's running around, he's making some plays. He said, it's working with intent, and I think Darius is going to be really good. Like the defensive line, the Giants' inside linebacker unit underwent a total renovation in the offseason. Um, the primary guys being veteran Tremaine Edmonds and rookie first round draft pick Arvell Reese. So those two have worked well together in shoring up the middle of the defense and developing a relationship that transcends the gridiron. End quote. When we first both got here, it's been all playbook. Us trying to learn, know what each other's doing, know what, first of all, what ourselves are doing before we can lead each other, but know what our assignment is in the defense, Edmonds said. Also, in quote, then after that, obviously we tried to get together, tried try just to go out to eat, whatever it is as a group, and develop a relationship like that. I think right now we're taking a step forward every day, and that's everybody on the defense. That growing bond should go a long way toward the two men developing the nonverbal communication on the field that often gets overlooked. Outside linebacker is the key to the defense. The Giants' outside linebackers remain the unquestioned strength of the defense, just as they were last year. However, they weren't always allowed to be that strength because of the team's struggles in stopping the run. That doesn't look as though it will be a problem this year. Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau were all active in practice in rushing the passer and were frequently successful in applying pressure. While details are limited regarding how defensive coordinator Denard Wilson plans to get all three on the field at the same time. Last year, Thibodeau received 53 snaps inside, 42 of those in pass rushing situations, excuse me, according to NFL Plus. He generated three quarterback pressures. It's been good, Thibodeau said of moving inside. I did it last year and continue to sharpen my tools, so it's been great so far. Such a move could also open up more opportunities for Thibodeau to finish plays when rushing the passer. It's just a little faster. I wouldn't say it's too much different, but you are closer to the quarterback. So it is, I would say, a little bit more opportunities, he said. Cornerbacks. Is a shakeup coming? Earlier this year, Harbaugh spoke about the cornerbacks and how every single one of those returning had to play better, including Paulson Adebo, who was one of the big signings from a year ago. Overall, not good enough, regardless of whatever circumstance is going on, Adebo said of his first season with the Giants. So it's no surprise that Harbaugh, who clearly doesn't put any weight into a guy's contract or draft status, has been mixing and matching cornerback combinations. And why not? With the coaching staff having offered everyone a fresh start, and yes, that includes Deontay Banks, the thus far disappointing first round pick from 2023, Harbaugh and the defensive coaches are looking to find the best starting duo to lean into. Quote, I feel like we've got one of the strongest cornerback rooms in the league, Adebo said. It reminds me of my earlier years when I was in New Orleans, where we had me, Titans quarterback, Alante um, Taylor, Commanders cornerback, Marshawn Lattimore, basically had 3, 4 number one corners on the team to be able to come in and challenge any receiver. So that's what it reminds me of. I think it's going to be a really dominant defense. That's with or without a Dable in the starting lineup. Now, safety, much needed redemption loading. There's little doubt that last year, Giants starting safeties Javon Holland and Tyler Nubin did not have the greatest collective showing. Part of that was due to injuries. Holland missed 3 games with a sprained knee, and even bigger part was due to the scheme. So with a more aggressive and from all accounts simpler scheme having been implemented, the hope is that the safeties will be a better position to make more plays. Newbin is optimistic that will be the case. End quote. It's great, man. It gives you a lot of opportunity to make plays, he said of the scheme. You got your eyes on the quarterback. And I think that's something that I do very well. Um, so something I'm really comfortable with, something I did a lot in college. So it's going to be good. That would be great news for Newbin, who came out of Minnesota with a reputation as a ball hawk. Thus far in the NFL, that hasn't been the case, and he believes that this new scheme might change that. I think Denard always has opportunistic defenses. Looking back where he's been, because they attack and they make the offense think, get them on their heels a little bit. Whether that's with the disguises or how we're playing things. Certain concepts, Newman said. We can have our eyes on the quarterback and really go attack the football. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to give me a really good opportunity for sure. Holland noted that this is the first time in his career he's entering a campaign that a campaign with the same defensive backfield partner. End quote. Just us building um, just building rapport over the off season, being close friends, communication, kind of understanding how we play, how he thinks, how I think. He said we're starting to like. I mean, we were last year, but obviously it's a new defense. Just pick up on our nuances and whatnot. Kicker, a quest to calm things down. After 3 years of adventures with their kicking game, the Giants are hoping that one of Ben Souls or Dominic Zavada finally steps up and provides the reliability that has been missing on scoring attempts for a while now. Early on, it appears that Zavada, the undrafted rookie out of Michigan, is ahead in the competition. Still, before declaring him the winner, the coaches will undoubtedly want to see how the kickers do on kickoffs, which is of course the other half of the picture. That will come during the games, where among the many things that will be judged are hang time and who can consistently get the ball in the landing zone. So no, this battle is not over. It's certainly fair to have Zavada in the league just based on his field goal kicking prowess shown so far. All right. So we got a couple of trades that happened during the trade deadline that we got to get to. I'm gonna get to right here. Let me see. First and foremost, the Mets have made yet another move in the sell-off, and this is a big one as Freddie Peralta is headed to the Rays in exchange for three prospects. After acquiring Freddie Peralta along with Tobias Myers from the Brewers this offseason in exchange for prospects Jet Williams and Brendan Sproat, New York has turned around and traded him. The deal sends the two-time All-Star to the Rays in exchange for outfielder Aiden Smith, second baseman um, Emilian Petre, and righty Gary Gilhill. The 30-year-old righty will be a free agent after the season, but will join a loaded Tampa Bay rotation that already includes Ross, Drew Ras, Rasmussen, Shane McClanahan, and Nick Martinez. Peralta was supposed to solidify the Mets rotation and bump them up the pecking order in the National League. He was coming off a career best season and looked like a true ace. Unfortunately, along with the rest of the roster, Peralta had been a massive massive disappointment in 2026. Through 22 starts, Peralta is 5-9 with a 4.99 ERA, a 1.48 WHIP, and 113 strikeouts against 48 walks in 113 2/3 innings. His strikeout rate 22.1% and FIP 4.46 are both career worst. The Rays are hoping a change of scenery and a playoff race will revive him. Freddie Peralta's career outlook in 2025, Peralta was at his best for the Brewers. He went 17-6 with a 2.70 ERA, a 1.08 WHIP, and 204 strikeouts against 66 walks and 176 2/3 innings. He led the National League in wins and ranked fourth in ERA, strikeouts per nine, 10.39, and WAR is 5.5 and was ninth in FIP, 3.85. That continued a pattern of excellence for Peralta, who was one of the NL's, which is National League's, best starters from 2021 through last season. In that time, he went 54-34 with a 3.30 ERA, a strikeout rate of 28.5%, and 14.8 WAR. The Mets were expecting that guy when they made the deal to acquire Peralta. Instead, they wound up with a guy who struggled to keep them in games. Opposing batters are producing an XBA of 235 against him, up from 206 last season. Peralta is a fastball dominant pitcher, throwing his four-seamer 53% of the time. In 2026, opposing batters are hitting 270 off the pitch while slugging 429. Those numbers are up from 209 and 381 respectively in 2025. Perhaps more alarming, Peralta's once dominant changeup has taken a major step back this year. Batters are hitting 280 and slugging 449 against it, compared to 173 and 271 in 2025. His curveball has similarly gotten worse, with batters hitting 250 against it compared to 189 in 2025, while they are slugging 500 compared to 300 last season. The velocity and movement profiles of his secondary offerings haven't changed too much, but his arm angle has dropped from 38 degrees to 33. That's significantly lower, and his extension has dropped as well. In 2025, he averaged 6.8 feet of extension, which ranked in the 81st percentile. This season, that has dropped to 6.5 feet, which is in the 54th percentile. Those changes may have something to do with why his first pitch strike percentage has dropped to a full season career low 57.8%. He was at 63.3% in 2025 and had been above 61% every season since 23. He has been pitching from behind all season, which has hurt his results. It's possible that a few tweaks could improve his effectiveness. Scouting report for the Mets' new prospects. In exchange for a few months of Peralta, the Mets landed 3 prospects, all carry some value. You got Aiden Smith with a 4th-round pick in the 2023 draft by the Mariners and was sent to Tampa in 2024 as part of the Randy Arozarena deal. He's a 22-year-old outfielder who is an excellent fielder. Excuse me. An excellent fielder with a ton of speed. While he has good raw power, there's a ton of swing and miss in his game. He's in high A for a second season in a row. In 59 games over three levels in 2026, he's slashing 209, 280, 391 with 10 home runs, 16 stolen bases, and a 68 WRC plus. He has to iron out his 30.1% strikeout rate if he wants to reach the big games. Gary Gill. Gary Gill Hill has an elite name and decent stuff on the mound. A six-rounder in 2022, he has a mid-90s heater and a biting cutter and a decent slider. The 21-year-old changeup isn't worth discussing at this point. He has decent control and has a fantastic walk rate this season, 5.0%. He was Tampa's 26th ranked prospect according to MLB Pipeline. Because of what looks like a lack of long-term upside, his stuff is fine, but he doesn't have a true goal to out-pitch, which is why he's supporting a 4.43 ERA, and opponents are hitting 307 off of him through 15 AA starts in 2026. Emilian Petre is an interesting prospect, a lefty hitting infielder. He played well for the Canadian junior national team, which led him to Kentucky, where he turned himself into a second round pick in 2024. He's average all the way around without a true standout tool. Things have clicked this season as he's slashing 323, 451, 492 with a 155 WRC plus in 37 games at Double A. At 23, he's on the older side for that level. He makes consistent contact but doesn't have a lot of power, limiting his upside. So the Mets got three players who have usable tools, but as of now, there's no standout in this group. All right, so let's see what else we have. What else? Let me see. Let me see. This one was a surprise right here. Actually, when I heard that Clay Holmes and Tyrone Taylor got sent to the Chicago Cubs. Actually, that's crazy right there. Give me 1 second. Okay. Here's what's happening here, according to AMNY, which is AM New York, of course. Clay Holmes saw the writing on the wall, and now it has become a reality. The Mets sent the veteran starting pitcher along with reserve outfielder Tyrone Taylor to the Chicago Cubs for their number 2 prospect Jefferson Rojas. The return is the Mets' most prominent acquisition at this trade deadline, as David Stearns has gutted one of Major League Baseball's most disappointing teams this season. Holmes is the second starting pitcher dealt away, joining Freddie Peralta, while Taylor is the first non-pitcher moved by the club. Stearns, Moneyball Stearns, had already dealt away relievers AJ Minter, Huascar Brozaban, Brooks Raley, and Luke Weaver. I will get to the AJ Minter thing next. Um, Holmes is on the cusp of returning to the majors after recovering from a broken leg suffered in May on a line drive from Spencer Jones of the Yankees. It interrupted what was to be a career year as he owned a 2.39 ERA across 9 starts. His second season with the Mets and as a starter after transitioning from a late inning reliever with the Yankees. With a player option for 2027 that he was always going to decline given his production, Holmes saw little progress in extension talks, which he had hoped would come to fruition in Queens. He admitted last week that a trade was the most likely course of action, then went on to make one more rehab start with High A Brooklyn on Sunday, despite saying he was more than ready to get back to the majors. Joining Holmes in Chicago will be Tyrone Taylor, who who used a ridiculous stretch to catapult his trade value for teams in need of outfield depth. His value was always high given his defensive acumen, but then he hit 7 home runs with 14 RBIs in his last 41 at bats, including three run round trippers on consecutive days against the Los Angeles Dodgers and Atlanta Braves last week. Entering the Mets' ever expanding farm system is the 21-year-old Rojas, who is capable of playing both third base and shortstop. In what is his first full season in Double A, he is slashing 270, 339, 461, which is 800 OPS, with 15 home runs, 57 RBIs, and 17 stolen bases in 91 games. Let's see. Let's see. Let me get to. Yeah, let me get to AJ Minter. Let me get to AJ Minter. So the New York Mets fire sale has begun as they made an expected move 3 days out from the August 3rd trade deadline. Midnight on Thursday, the Mets dealt left-hander relief pitcher AJ Minter to the Minnesota Twins for prospects Billy Amick and Bruin Agbayani, which is the son of former Mets outfielder Benny Agbayani. Agbayani. Jeff Passan of ESPN first reported the move. Let's see. After starting his career with the National League East Division rival Atlanta Braves, Minter joined the Mets in the 2025 offseason. Through 13 games, he showed signs of being a productive member of their pitching staff until a torn left lateral muscle ended his season. Following a month of rehabilitation, Minter has Minter made his return in May of this offseason and steadily picked up from where he left off. In 23 appearances, he recorded 20 strikeouts to 8 hits and 6 earned runs on a 2.35 ERA and a 1.000 whip. However, his time with the franchise didn't last much longer due to his production and the Mets, built by President of Baseball Operations Moneyball Stern, being at the bottom of the NL East standings with a 47-63 record. Actually, right now, right now is 52-67 for the Mets. This is the start of what is expected to be an active trade deadline. They are expected to send off a number of veterans, including Brooks Raley, Luke Weaver, Kodai Senga, and Freddie Peralta, which I just talked about him not too long ago, who is scheduled to start against the Miami Marlins at Citi Field on Friday. On the flip side, Minter joined the Twins, who are slowly recovering from a 32 to 40 start as they now hold a 55-55 record. Despite being a 500 team, they have the fortune of being in a weak AL, which is the American League Central Division, and sit just 3 games behind the first place Chicago White Sox entering play Friday. In exchange for the lefty, the Mets received Amick and Agbayani, who were the number 21 and number 29 prospects in Minnesota's system. In 3 minor league seasons, Amick, who is splitting time at first and third base, tallied 149 bits, 112 RBIs, and 30 home runs on a 251 average this season with the AA Wichita. Excuse me. He slugged 23 home runs but has 108 strikeouts in 313 at bats. Agbayani, on the other hand, recorded 15 hits, RBI, 6 RBIs, and 3 doubles in 2 seasons at the minor league level. A low A ball middle infielder. He is the son of Benny Agbayani, a beloved playoff hero for the Mets, best known for slamming a walk-off home run in Game 3 of the 2000 National League Division Series against the San Francisco Giants at Shea Stadium. The victory would help propel the Mets to a National League pennant. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Hold on. Speaking of Huascar Brozaban, this is another person that also got traded too. So David Moneyball Stearns executed another midnight special as the Mets dealt reliever Huascar Brozaban to the Chicago White Sox in the wee hours of Monday morning, trade deadline day in Major League Baseball for a pair of prospects. Going back to the Mets, it is Chicago's number 18 ranked prospect, right-hander Gabe Davis, and unranked righty Zach Franklin. Davis is currently in Double A, while Franklin is in Triple A. Um, the return is modest for a player who still has 3 years of control left on his contract, but the Mets and the market clearly believe that a drop-off of sorts is coming for the 36-year-old Brozaban. Well, before the details of the trade emerged during Sunday's series finale against the Miami Marlins, Brozaban was seen hugging and shaking hands with coaches in the Citi Field bullpen. which is typically an indication that a player was being traded at the moment. Not only did Brozaban stick around in the bullpen, but he eventually came into pitch a scoreless eighth inning of New York's 2-0 loss. He is the second notable bullpen arm dealt in what is becoming a fire sale by Moneyball Stearns, who also pulled off a deal to send struggling starters Freddie Peralta to the Tampa Bay Rays on Sunday afternoon. Veteran southpaw A.J. Minton was sent to the Minnesota Twins for a pair of prospects late Thursday night. Brozaban spent parts of 3 seasons in New York, proving to be a versatile and valuable piece of the bullpen. He was 5-2 with a 2.56 ERA and 49 strikeouts while appearing in every inning. There has been a steady stream of interest in Mets relievers for the past few weeks, with Luke Weaver and Brooks Raley also seen as attractive targets for contending clubs. I'll touch on those two in a following episode. I'm not going to be able time to get to them. Let me see. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. Before I go into some more baseball news, let's see. Let me go to a little bit of Knicks news right here. According to hoopsrumors.com, 3-time NBA Coach of the Year Don Nelson has died at age 86. His family announced in a statement, according to Mark Stein of the Stein Line. End quote. On Sunday morning, our beloved husband, dad, grandfather, and great-grandfather Don Nelson peacefully went to be with the Lord, surrounded by his loving family. Throughout his last week, friends and family encircled him with love, sharing the blessing of his friendship and revisiting treasured memories. Nelson, who was enshrined in the Naismith um, Basketball of Fame in 2012, ranks second on the all-time wins list for a head coach, compiling a 1,335 to 1,063 record with the course of 31 seasons with the Bucks, Warriors, Knicks, and Mavericks. He's one of 2 coaches in NBA history to register 300-plus wins with 3 different franchises: Milwaukee, Golden State, and Dallas, with the other being Lenny Wilkens, who passed away in November. Nelson started his NBA career as a player, spending 11 of his 14 seasons with the Celtics and winning 5 championships. A 6'6" small forward, he averaged 10.3 points and 4.9 rebounds in 20.6 minutes per game across 1,043 regular season appearances. Widely regarded as an offensive innovator during his post-playing career, Nelson also had a long career as an executive, serving as both a coach and general manager for the Bucks, Warriors, and Mavericks. He played a key role in the Mavs draft night acquisitions of future Hall of Famers Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki. In 1998, writes Brad Townsend of the Dallas Morning News. Don the legend, happy to be here for him, Nowitzki said in June, when Nelson received James Naismith Family Legacy Award in Dallas. He was obviously the guy that jump-started my career. He gave me a lot of confidence. His His way of seeing basketball with the whole mismatch and shooting just played into my hands. I've always said if I would have had another coach, if I would have gone to another team, things could have worked out a lot differently. Nelly was just the perfect coach for me to start my career. According to Townsend, Nelson moved from his longtime home in Maui, Hawaii, to Frisco, Texas earlier this year. He suffered a stroke 3 weeks ago and had recently been in hospice care per his family. Nelson received the Chuck Daly Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Basketball Coaches Association at the 2025 NBA Finals. In addition to his long career, he helped guide the U.S. national team to a gold medal at the 1994 FIBA World Championships. Nelson's son, Donnie Nelson, succeeded his father as general manager of the Mavericks, and spent several years with the organization, including winning a title in 2011. We at Hoops Rumors send our condolences to Nelson's family and friends. Sleep in paradise, Don Nelson. Okay. Let me see. Hold on. Okay, wait. Wait a second. Let me see. Let me see if there's anything else to talk about here in regards to the Knicks. Let's see. Um, all right. Mhm. Okay, let me see this. Let me see something here. Okay. All right. According to Sporting News, the New York Knicks second round draft pick is taking his talents back to Germany. Officially guard Jack Cahill, the 39th overall pick in this year's draft, has signed a new 5-year contract with Alba Berlin, according to the New York Post. Jared Schwartz. Oh boy, Jared Schwartz. I don't know who that is actually. Um, Last season was super dope, and I enjoyed a lot. That's why the I'm all the more excited to stay in Berlin, KO said in a statement. Can't wait to pick up where we left off. The NBA is and remains a big dream of mine, and Alba is the right place for me to continue that path, he continued. The club has already helped me take the decisive steps in this direction. I'm just happy and grateful to be back in this incredible environment. The 20-year-old is now a draft and stash prospect. The Knicks will retain his draft rights while he plays in Germany. When KL was selected by the Knicks, he openly said he would prefer to stay in the NBA this season. He played for New York at Summer League. In 4 games in Las Vegas, KO averaged 8.8 points and 34.2% shooting from the field. He added 3.5 assists and 3.0 rebounds a game. KO's skill set, a scrappy defender with good court vision, led Alba Berlin to victory in the in the Bund in the Bundesliga championship last season. With with hold on. Where was I? With 3 2-way slots open on the Knicks' roster, they will have to pivot if they were planning to give one of them to KL. So yeah, there you go, right there. Let's see. What else? What else? Um. Oh yeah. So let's talk about the future idea of a player um having a first base start. All right. So let's see. And this is from 21sports.com. So here's what's going on here. In a significant shift for the New York Mets, Brett Baty took a pivotal step on Saturday, making his first start at first base during a spring training game against the Washington Nationals. With Pete Alonso's departure leaving a noticeable gap, the Mets are exploring various options to fill the void at first base, and Baty is eager to showcase his adaptability. For years, Alonso was a reliable staple at first base, known for his solid defensive skills, although he lacked range and for arm. The transition to a new infield configuration has raised questions about how the Mets will manage without him. As Baty stepped onto the field at Clover Park, he acknowledged the challenge ahead, saying, "It was a fun challenge out there. There were no mistakes, but it didn't look pretty either. We'll get better over there for sure." Despite not looking like a natural at first, Baty's performance was encouraging. He noted, he noted, "It gives me confidence going into the next game as he begins to navigate the complexities of the position." During the game, he faced a ground ball from Washington's James Wood, which tested his instincts. There are some things you never see in practice till you get out there and do it in a game, he reflected. Baty is not only learning the mechanics of first base, but also drawing on advice from infield instructor Kai Correa and manager, um, former manager Carlos Mendoza, who got fired. Um, he shared, "I felt like I wanted to go get the ball. That's just how I've always been." Um, However, he acknowledged the importance of communication with his teammates, particularly second baseman Marcus Simeon, to ensure he remains effective while covering his new position. As he could adapt, Beatty is also set to see time in the outfield, likely starting in right field. He expressed enthusiasm for the opportunity, likening the experience to that of a football receiver. "I can catch fly balls and show off the arm. I like it out there," he said, highlighting his versatility as he aims to contribute in multiple roles this season. With the Mets rosters featuring Beatty, Jorge Polanco, and Mark Vientos, who's out with an injury right now, vying for the first base spot. The competition is intense. And those are at the time remains optimistic about their capability, stating, "I feel comfortable that any of the three can play first base." He emphasized the importance of providing Beatty with ample opportunities to refine his skills, recognizing the challenges that come with such a transition. As the team prepares for the regular season, Beatty's commitment to tackling adversity will be crucial in solidifying the infield's future. Well, look, I will say this though, man. I will say this though. Sometimes Brett Baty tends to commit a little bit of errors, and other times he tends to make some plays there too. So, in order for a player to be able to be the best player they could be, they have to be in a utility role. He's a utility person. He plays multiple positions, not just third base. He also played a little bit of right field. He played a little bit of second base. He played a little bit of first base. You feel what I'm saying? And and look, you can't really tell a person that they can't play first base. If you are in a utility role and you're showing your versatility to play multiple roles, not all at once, but in different games, I guarantee Brett Baty will actually turn things around, regardless of the mistakes and errors and everything else. Now, I do want to highlight that he did play right field recently. He actually got um, he actually got a person out by second base, and I believe, and that was like in the ninth inning in one of the games when the Mets were playing against the Cleveland Guardians. I figured that was like one of the best plays that Brett Baty has ever did. You know what I mean? And also, Jared Young hasn't been talked about as much though, man. Let me tell you something, man. This guy can play a solid first base. He's been pretty solid at first base though, man. Despite the mental errors and he's been making some spectacular plays too. I will give him credit for that too. So yeah. So yeah, I just find it very interesting that in different matchups, um in different matchups that Jared Young, when it comes to left-handed starting pitchers, it's crazy. It's crazy that he's playing against left-handed pitch, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you could rely on anybody else to play first base other than Jared Young, because Jared Young has been putting in the work and helping the team win some games. So yeah, he deserves all the flowers and all the credit that he deserves, though, man. So I'm actually glad that Brett Baty and Jerry Young did not get traded, because if you did that, it would have been a bigger a bigger fucking disaster. Because then you don't have a utility player to actually fill those roles, as far as like a first base, a second base. Like, come on now. Yeah. Um. So yeah, that's pretty cool though, man. You know what I mean? That was pretty cool. Yeah. So there you go. That was the future idea of a player at first base. Future idea of a player first base start. So that's pretty much what that is. That was basically dedicated to not only Brett Baty but also Jared Young as well. I mean, so there you go, right there. I do want to touch on some sports podcasts of the week. Hold on a second. I want to actually touch base on that as well. Hold on a sec. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, I want to touch on. Hang on one second here. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. All right, let's get to the sports podcast of the week. All right. Now let's go over some sports podcast recommendations, starting with Locked On NBA Daily Podcast. You have Locked On NFL Six Pack Podcast. You got Locked On Knicks, Locked On Nets, Locked On Mets, Locked On NFL Big Board, Locked On Knicks Squad Show Podcast. You got Locked On Giants Podcast. No, Locked On New York Giants Podcast. Excuse me. Locked On New York Giants Squad Show Podcast. And of course, Locked On NBA Game Night Podcast, Club 520 Podcast, New York Got Game A Basketball Podcast, Straight Out of Flushing Mets Podcast with Dexter Henry and Wardy NYM, Post Move Post Moves with Candace Parker and Aaliyah Boston, the Pivot Podcast, Fireside Knicks, Empire Sports Media. Of course, the Deep Three. You got Sports Gaming Universe. It is what it is. Sports podcast. You got Fourth and One with Cam Newton podcast. All Even podcast alongside with Queens Get the Money Mets podcast with Barry Grant Jr. The Portal Daily College Recruiting Podcast, Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings Podcast, Rates and Barrels. You got Locked On MLB and MLB Game Night Podcast, Met Stuff Podcast, Empire State of Baseball Podcast. Um, you got the New York Yankees and the New York Mets. You got Chat Sports. You got TN Sports. You got Sunday Sports Club Podcast. Pudgy Boy Sports Talk, the Metropolitan Report Podcast, Meet the Mets Fans Podcast. You got Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. You got Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast, Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast, Mets Weekly, Mets Daily with John Sampanaro, Knicks Latest, Giants Latest with Adriana, Three Guys, Six Balls NFL Podcast, Empire State Sports Report Podcast with Adriana. You got the Wind Up with Mark, Net Mark, and James Shiano. Giants Collective, Locked On UConn, Locked On Dynasty Podcast, Full Circle Podcast, Hoops for Hotties Podcast, Sports Podcast, Locked On Syracuse Podcast, Locked On NFL Scouting with Draft Dudes Podcast, Locked On Bets, the Nick of Time Show Podcast, Shea Station, Speaking of the Mets Podcast with Max Goodman, Just Mets, Knicks Film School, Fantasy Baseball Today Podcast, Baseball and Coffee Conversations Podcast, You Know I'm Right Podcast, Game Over with Max Kellerman and Rich Paul Podcast, Good Follow, Locked On College Football Podcast, and Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the Sports Cards CEO, the official collectibles podcast, Mostly Mets, Locked On NFL Draft Daily Podcast, College Football, NFL Draft, Believe in Mets Podcast, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn with Carmela Anthony Podcast, All About the Action Sports and Fine Arts Show, Barrel Up, Crosstown 9 Podcast, Fanatics and Analytics Podcast, No Fouls Given, Ringer, Tailgate, The Relay with Russ Dorsey Podcast, NBA Ringer, Shump Street with Iman Shumpert Podcast, All NBA Podcast, the Dual Sports and Stuff Podcast, the Call Up and MLB Prospect Podcast. You got the Shift, the Heat Check with Trista Crick Podcast, the Night Shift, a sports podcast, 11.7 College Baseball Podcast, Tread Athletics, first time caller, long time listener with Laura Albanese, Show and Go, Table Setters Baseball Podcast, Flood Around and Find Out Podcast, Full Sport Press Podcast. You got Subway Shade Podcast with Anthony Rivera, Big Blue Banter, Born to the Game Podcast, the Black Baseball Mixtape Podcast, the Mets Way, the Mets Pod, Why Am I a Mets Fan Podcast, the Orange Zone Podcast, Who's Right Mets Podcast, Locked Up Sports, New York Sports Talk Podcast, Kicking Screaming Sports Podcast, Lou Albanese on Fox 5, Foul Territory, Till Mets Do His Part, Fantasy Football Today Podcast, We Need to Talk Now Podcast, Believe in Giants, Believe in Softball, Believe in Nets, and of course, Locked On Bucks. All right. And also make sure you get a chance, when you get a chance, you can listen to this platform right here, Sports Edition Show, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks Podcast, especially on YouTube as well. All right. Let's see. I want to take a look at what's going on down on the farm before I get up out of here. Before I get up out of here, I want to take a look at do a little sports rundown. Let's do a little sports rundown, though, man. Yeah. Yeah, let's do a little sports rundown real quick. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, let's do a little sports rundown real quick. All right, this is where I actually talk about what's going on down on the farm, and of course the schedule of the New York Mets, the New York Giants, and a little bit of the New York Knicks. But because of the Mets schedule, I'm gonna actually concentrate on that one, and of course we'll take a look at what's going on down in the farm. Let me just see if there's a way for me to. Let me see. All right, hold on. Okay. MILB. Okay. Okay, let me see. MILB. Okay, hold on. Hold on, I'm sorry. Let me see. Hold on. Okay, let me see. Let me see something here. Hold on 1 second. Syracuse Mets. Let's take a look. MILB. MILB. My lead team news. Let's see. All right. I think I'm going to talk about here. So let's start off with. Let me see. All right, let's take a look at the Syracuse Mets recap. All right. All right, so um All right, so today in Syracuse, New York, the Syracuse Mets put on an offensive showcase, scoring in 6 different innings and using a 6-run fourth to power past the Columbia Clippers 13-7 on Saturday night at NBT Bank Stadium. Ronnie Mauricio got the offense started immediately. The switch hitter launched a solo home run to right field in the bottom of the first, his 13th homer of the season, putting Syracuse in front 1-0. Columbus answered in the second. Rafi Velasquez singled before Blake Perkins hit a 2-out, 2-run homer to right field, giving the Clippers a 2-1 advantage. Syracuse responded with 3 runs in the bottom half. Jose Ramos tied the game with a solo homer to center, his first with Syracuse. Later in the inning, Hayden Sanger doubled and Zach Short and Vital Bruhan walked to load the bases. Mauricio then ripped a 2-run double to center, scoring Sanger and Short for a 4-2 Mets lead. Columbus cut the lead to 1 in the third. Cooper walked and Daniel Schneemann doubled before Engel scored when David Fry reached on a throwing error, making it 4-3. Columbus then tied the game in the fourth after Milan Talentino doubled and eventually scored on a basketball. Syracuse responded emphatically with its biggest inning of the night. Ramos opened the bottom of the fourth with his second home run of the game, and DeAndre Smith followed immediately with his first homer of the season, giving the Mets back-to-back home runs and a 6-4 lead. After Short walked and Bruin singled, Mauricio doubled both home for an 8-4 advantage. Christopher Morel followed with an RBI double that scored Mauricio, and Andy Ibanez capped the 6-run inning with a sacrifice fly that brought home MJ Melendez and stretched the lead to 10-4. Columbus got one back in the fifth. Schneemann walked, Fry doubled, and Kyle Manzardo walked to load the bases before Velasquez was hit by a pitch, forcing home a run. Austin Warren entered with the bases still loaded and nobody out, and escaped without allowing another run, getting Alfonso Rosario to line into a double play before striking out Valentino. The Mets extended the lead to 11-5 in the sixth. Mauricio walked, Melendez singled him to third, and Morel brought Mauricio home with a sacrifice fly. Manzardo hit a solo home run in the seventh to cut the Syracuse lead to 11-6, but the Mets added 2 more runs in the eighth. Bruhan doubled and Mauricio singled before Melendez drove home Bruhan with an RBI double. Ibanez followed with a second sacrifice fly of the night, scoring Mauricio and pushing the lead to 13-6. Fry hit a solo home run in the ninth for the final run of the night before Kevin Herget retired the next 3 batters to finish off the 13-7 victory. On the mound, Tobias Myers started for Syracuse and worked 3 innings and a third, allowing 4 runs, 3 earned on 4 hits with 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. Brian Metoyer earned the win, recording 2 outs while allowing 1 run on 1 hit with 2 walks and 1 strikeout. Austin Warren delivered 2 scoreless innings, allowing 1 hit and 2 walks while striking out 2. Jonathan Pintaro worked 2/3 of an inning, allowing 1 run on 1 hit one walk while striking out 2. Kevin Herget recorded the final 7 outs, working 2 innings in the third, allowing 1 run on 2 hits with no walks and 1 strikeout. Mauricio led the offensive barrage, going 4 for 4 with a home run, 2 doubles, a walk, 5 RBIs, and 4 runs scored. Ramos homered twice, while Morel drove in 2 runs and Ibanez had 2 RBIs on a pair of sacrifice flies. All right, so there you go, right there. Syracuse Mets. They get the victory over the Clippers. All right. Now let's see what's going on in let's see what's going on with anything going on with the Brooklyn Cyclones. Okay. Let's go on to Brooklyn. Left fielder Aiden Smith homered for the second game, while 6 Brooklyn pitchers combined a 1-hitter as the Cyclones edged the Wilmington Blue Rocks 3-2 on Thursday night at Daniel S. Frawley Stadium. The victory was Brooklyn's 20-18, 45-58, fourth straight win, fourth straight, keeping them 2.5 games behind first place Greensboro in the South Atlantic League North Division second half standings. For the second straight night, the Cyclones erupted in the first inning, and shortstop Sammy Stafora, the latest prospect, opened the game with a first pitch single to left before Smith followed with a knot to center. Right fielder Trey Snyder provided a third straight hit to start the contest, slapping an RBI single to right to give the Cyclones a 1-0 lead. 2 batters later, third baseman Jonathan Henriquez lined an RBI single to left to extend the advantage to 2-0. Winston cut the deficit in half without the benefit of a base hit in the second. A hit batter, and consecutive walks to first baseman Jacob Walsh, right fielder Jack Moronek, and center fielder um, center fielder Jorge Orhales Mota loaded the bases with nobody out before another hit by pitch of left fielder Eli Nunez forced home a run. However, that would be all the Blue Rocks scored in the frame. Right-handed pitcher Joel Diaz limited the damage by striking out the next batter before inducing an inning-ending double play, preserving the Brooklyn's 2-1 lead. The Cyclones regained their 2-run cushion in the third. On the third pitch of the inning, Smith launched a solo home run over the tall fence down the right field line. The 22-year-old's second homer since joining Brooklyn and 12th overall this season made it a 3-1 contest. It remained a 2-run game until the 7th. Shortstop Eli Willits worked a 1-out walk and stole second before advancing to third and scoring when an errant pickoff throw sailed into center field, trimming Brooklyn's lead to 3-2. Another walk and a wild pitch moved the tying run into scoring position. Right-handed pitcher Hunter Hodges induced a pair of groundouts to escape the inning with the Cyclones still in front. Right-handed pitcher Joe Scarborough followed with a dominant 8th inning, striking out 3 and a scoreless frame. A scoreless frame before handing the ball to right-handed pitcher Juan Arnaud, Arnaud for the ninth inning. The 23-year-old retired the first two batters on flyouts to left, but then issued back-to-back walks, two stolen bases, and a throwing error put the tying and go-ahead runs in scoring position before the right-hander struck out the final batter swing to secure Brooklyn's 3-2 victory. Diaz collected a no decision in his first start since returning from Single A St. Lucie. The 22-year-old allowed without permitting a hit in 3.0 innings, walking 3 and striking out 3. Right-handed pitcher Elvis Majoris earned the win in his high A debut, tossing 2.0 scoreless innings while allowing Wilmington's lone hit, a fifth inning single by third baseman Ronnie Cruz. He walked 2 and struck out 2. Right-handed pitcher Calvin Ziegler also turned in a strong outing, striking out 3 over a scoreless inning despite hitting a batter to earn a hold. Wilmington started right-handed pitcher Tucker Bevan took the loss after allowing 2 runs on 4 hits over 2.0 innings. The New Albany native matched a career high with 4 strikeouts in his second career start. Brooklyn will try to secure a series victory on Friday night. Right-handed pitcher Luke Garbridge is expected to make the start, and New York Mets organizational debut for the Cyclones. The Blue Rocks are projected to, so there you go right there. Brooklyn Cyclones got the victory. So there you go right there. All right. I think I'm going to call it a wrap for today's episode right here. Hold on. All right. Time for stream choices on the go. Let's do this. Okay. First and foremost, make sure you follow the Sports Edition Show, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast on Facebook alongside with Blue Sky Social, alongside with Threads and Instagram. The same goes for my other podcast shows that I do, which includes the entertainment review show Meticulous Vibe Juice podcast, and my comedy Off the Meat Rack Chains New York Avenue podcast is also both of these are on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channels. Of course, leave a like and a comment. Tell me how you feel about the topics in today's episode and the previous episodes whatsoever. Of course, you can hype up the videos. You can also share the videos with your friends that's also into sports, whether they're baseball fans of New York teams like the New York Mets, basketball teams like the New York Knicks, and of course the New York Giants as well. And of course, don't forget to click on the notification alerts so you know when I'll be on the air via live stream, doing my live episode recordings. So that way you don't miss out on any particular topics that's being discussed in each episode whatsoever. All right. All right, I'm about to wrap this up right now. That's going to do it for me. I'm your man, G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator. Rhymes with now or later, like the candy. And I'd like to say thank you to every single one of you for being patient with me. And of course, for tuning in and watching each episode based on each sports topic whatsoever. And remember, the grind doesn't stop. Hard work pays off. If you want something, you have to work hard and earn it. It's not going to be given to you on a fucking silver platter. Find your niche of your goals and dreams. And whatever career field you're trying to do, don't let anybody tell you there's no money in something, especially podcasting, especially with everything. You know what I'm saying? And, be on your P's and Q's on a on a creative basis, creatively, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, that gets you into your zone alongside with tunnel vision. All right. I want to say this though, man, before I get up out of here. Actually, man, listen. Every baseball team is gonna have their ups and downs, including the New York Mets. All right. You can't expect perfection out of these players. You're gonna have your you're gonna have your good games and your bad games. And like I always say, it's not a matter of whether you win or lose, and not about how you finish. It's not about just finishing. It's not just about finishing the game. It's how you finish and how you play the game. All right. I myself told myself that I was never going to give up on the New York Mets, regardless of how much of a losing streak that they have whatsoever. And my true definition of what a die-hard Mets fan is basically a person who is um, a loyal supporter. It doesn't matter how many games you go to. It does not matter. And like I said, you cannot expect perfection out of these players. Sure, you didn't like what the results happened with the trade deadline by Moneyball Stearns and stuff, and I'm really hoping that he gets held accountable for the messed up shit that he did with the whole core. And as far as like the fucking uncertainty of a possible lockout and shit, with the whole Tariq Skubal being picked up by the Los Angeles Dodgers. Of course, it's going to be so crazy. It's going to be crazy um, with all this stuff. And the crazy thing is, I was listening to Andy's randomness of Whenever Saturday podcast, and he talked about it's how there's a monopoly going on when it comes to the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it can really be a possibility of the lead cause to this lockout. I said this before, man. I don't think there's going to be a fucking cap, man. It's not going to work. It's not going to work for baseball. Just because it works for football and basketball, like the NFL and the NBA, does not mean it's going to work right away with MLB. Because then there's like it's like a certain system when it comes to those things. And then as far as the salary floor and everything else, it would end badly if there was a work stoppage and a lockout that's going to cost the players money. So, you know what I'm saying? Just, you know what I'm saying? It's like, listen, man. I hope this lockout is not longer than it is on some petty bullshit as far as like the TV deals and shit. So, yeah. So, yeah. There it is, though, man. And of course, tune in next time. I will be covering some more of the highlights of the trades that I didn't get a chance to talk about and everything else, and on the following episodes. And of course, stay tuned for more new sports topics in the next episode. I appreciate every single one of you for taking the time to listen to me and hear me out, express myself, express my opinions, all that great stuff whatsoever. I will be back on Tuesday. I'll be back on Tuesday. So make sure you set those notification alerts. I will be recording hopefully between 5:50 and 6:15 p.m. after I'm done with dinner. And hopefully I don't miss out on any games whatsoever. But for now, peace and one love. Hope you enjoyed this episode more than I do. All right, peace and one love. Let's go Giants. Let's go Knicks. Knicks at 5. Let's go Mets. In the words of Ken Stars, make sure you tune into his show. State of Mind on Hot 97 Saturdays at 11. No, Saturdays at 10 to 11 a.m. in the morning. Have a good night, everybody.